There we go. So in Tom Rafter's absence, I'll be chairing tonight's Environmental Stewardship Committee meeting. Just to run through quickly the agenda after I call the meeting to order, I'll provide just a brief comment, and then I'll introduce Giovanni Zinn, New Haven City Engineer, who will walk us through the traffic calming project, which will be the subject of today's discussion. And for members of the ESC, we've bumped a few of the agenda items to next month so we can focus exclusively on this important issue. And then
So you
following
you don't want to vote on the minutes today. We'll do that next month.
we will vote. I'll just do that quickly after this.
All right.
And then following Giovanni's presentation, I'll open the floor to committee members before moving to the public for comment, where we encourage everyone to participate and ask questions. So at 5:04, I officially call this meeting to order. Do I have a motion to approve the February 18, 2025 meeting minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Are there any comments or corrections? All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
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 So moved. The February 18 meeting minutes have been adopted. And I just want to begin again by thanking everyone for joining us this evening and for the comments and feedback many of you have shared since our last meeting in November, as well as since last year's annual meeting when the issue of addressing traffic management for Fort Hale and surrounding roads was raised, and to which this project is a response. As it relates to this project, we have certainly heard you loud and clear and understand and acknowledge the concerns expressed about the potential impact of the proposed roundabout on traffic flow around the airport, particularly in relation to Nathan Hale School, which Giovanni will speak to in more detail shortly. Both we and the city certainly take that input very seriously, and as you'll see in Giovanni's presentation, adjustments have been made in response to this feedback to ensure the final design thoughtfully balances safety, accessibility, and neighborhood impact with the traffic management structure needed to address longstanding concerns for residents of Fort Hale Road and surrounding streets. And again, I started this off in case anybody had joined in the meantime. My name's Tom Cavalier. I'm the Director of Community Engagement for the airport. And what I'll do is also drop my contact information, my email and cell phone number in the chat. So certainly after this meeting and anything comes up that maybe doesn't get addressed or that you want to follow up on this issue or any others, certainly welcome you and invite you to reach out and stay connected. So with that, I'll hand this over to Giovanni.
Thank you very much, Tom. All members of the committee, members of the public that are here, thank you so much for taking the time this evening to talk about this important project. We really look forward to finding ways to address the concerns of the neighborhood and our Nathan Hale School community, and find ways to improve some of the situations that we've heard for a long time relating to the traffic around Tweed, and also beyond, some of the just general traffic concerns in the neighborhood. With that, let me share my screen. You need to enable me to do that. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
Thank you. All right, so today is a follow-up to a meeting we had on November 12th, and also some of our committee meetings as well, where we've discussed this project. I want to give some updates and then give some heads up on upcoming construction, and give some, just go over the entire project and what we're doing and some of the changes that we've made in response to community feedback. All right, so what we've heard, right? A lot of this came out of the June 3rd annual Tweed community meeting. We heard a lot about significant traffic on Fort Hale Road related directly to the airport. At the peak moments of that traffic, it can be hard for residents on Fort Hale Road and some of the surrounding streets to get out of their driveway. And any backups that happen at arrivals or departures in the airport spill back into the neighborhood. And we talked about this at our November 12th community meeting. And since then, the dominant feedback since then has been to address potential changes to traffic volume in front of Nathan Hale's school. Those are the most significant common themes that we've seen come through regarding this project. So what are the goals of the project? Decrease the overall traffic volume on Fort Hale Road, try to get rid of some of that congestion that can happen if the airport backs up. Reduce the total miles traveled through the neighborhood between the airport and Townsend Avenue, which is a state road. Improve the pinch points internal to the airport so that traffic isn't backing up as much and spilling into the neighborhood. And finally, keeping traffic away as much as possible from Nathan Hale School, or keeping it away entirely during pickup and drop off, which are the peak times of pedestrian movements and general traffic around the school related to the school. So just to sort of matching up to some of those goals that we have, the proposed improvements are to open a new exit with no entry at the intersection of Dean Street and Burr Street, improving airport circulation by removing some of the pinch points within the airport at departures and arrivals, improving the intersection geometry at Dean Street and Burr Street. One of the things I'll note is that while a lot of the focus is on airport traffic, the plan is still to move the terminal to the east side of the airport, where this will not be an area that has airport traffic. And the improved geometry of this intersection is something that will provide benefit long beyond the time of airport traffic through here, but it's something that improves an intersection that has a fairly awkward geometry right now. So I'm going to go through each of those in more detail. Decreasing two-way traffic through the neighborhood. Right now, all of the traffic to the airport, or most of it, is going through Fort Hale Road, both into the airport and out of the airport. The purpose of this project, among other things, is to decrease the traffic on Fort Hale Road, 30% drop roughly, by having still all of the incoming traffic and some of the outgoing traffic going on Fort Hale Road, but some of the outgoing traffic outside of drop-off and pickup times at the school to go out Burr Street to Townsend Avenue. Reducing the total miles traveled on local streets, the distance outside of pickup and drop-off times at Fort Hill at Nathan Hale School would be a shorter way from the exit, about 1,300 feet as opposed to 1,900 feet. So that's fewer homes that we're passing before getting to the state highway on small, narrow residential streets. So improving airport circulation. Many of you live near the airport. You know this as well as I do. Vehicles come in the airport currently right over here and go down this aisle here, and then they select whether to go to the arrivals area, which is this pattern here, or the departures area. However, all of the arrivals traffic has to then pass through the departure area as well, and this can lead to backups in this area right here in front of the main terminal, which then leads to backups back out the front of the airport. So the improved circulation eliminates that pinch point right here in front of the terminal by allowing arrivals traffic to continue on to the arrivals area and then heading back out of the airport without having to loop back through the arrivals area. We have a little bit more space as well for arrivals traffic to queue up as we're waiting to pick up passengers, and there's less traffic going back out the airport through just only departures and these lots here. Should be noted that Lot C, which is off the lower left of the page here, does exit the new exit over here at Burn Dean. However, that traffic is about 10% of the overall airport traffic. And really the bulk of it is arrival and departure, drop off and pickup. So zooming in a little bit on the intersection itself, it's a roundabout. It's a mountable roundabout so that, if someone has a large moving truck or something like that, then, a semi-trailer, sometimes or movers use semi-trailers or other very large vehicles, they would be able to get through here without getting stuck. Also helps with fire response and other larger vehicles. However, passenger vehicles will find it more comfortable to navigate the roundabout here. Square off the intersection of as Dean comes into this intersection with Burr, and provide a little traffic calming effect for people, eliminating people whipping around this corner and going through the stop sign here. Same thing on the straightaway here, provides an element of traffic calming through this area here. One of the changes that we've made since November 12th is added a new electronic variable message sign here at the exit. And you can see a small picture of what one would look like down here at the end. And that's a fully programmable sign that can kind of say whatever text is needed and can do so at certain times of the day. And the purpose of that is to direct traffic coming out of the airport during drop off and pickup to head all to the right back to the existing traffic pattern that we have on Fort Hale Road during pickup and drop off for Nathan Hale School. Electronic variable message signs are often used in airports or other large traffic generators to indicate exactly which direction vehicles should go. It is much easier to direct vehicles that are already in a particular facility where to go as they leave, as opposed to trying to have people who are coming to the facility follow particular routes. So I think that this, in the experience of the industry and what we've seen with other facilities, it is an option that works, and it's a way to direct people to the best ways to get back to the highway or wherever else they're going. So let's talk a little bit about Nathan Hale School. Very important. Safety of children is paramount. School safety is something that's very important. Some of you may remember from a couple of years ago, the project that we did to get the first raised crossing on a state road in the state of Connecticut built. Lots of years of work with the Connecticut Department of Transportation to do that. Huge thank you to the mayor, to Senator Looney, to Representative Paolillo in particular, who I know spends a lot of time helping kids get safely to school here to get that done. We know that there's more to do, and I'm very happy to come out and spend time at drop off and pick up with parents, with school teachers, with administrators, whomever, to try to work on more solutions to build upon what we've done here. In short, drop off is between 7 and 8 a.m. Roughly speaking. I believe school starts at 7:45. No arrivals are scheduled to the airport during this time, so no traffic would be coming out of the new proposed exit. However, during that time anyway, we would direct all traffic back to Fort Hale Road so that none would be directed to go up Burr Street in front of Nathan Hale School during drop off. One word about arrivals traffic. Arrivals typically pick up a bit later in the late morning, just because these are domestic routes. They're not, coast to coast routes. They're fairly short haul flights that typically don't occur as overnight flights. So the first flights that arrive in New Haven depart, 6, 7 in the morning from wherever they're leaving. And then arrive at New Haven later, 9, 10, 11 o'clock. So we don't anticipate any arrivals traffic during the drop-off time, but even so, we'll certainly direct any traffic, such as it is, back to Fort Hale Road. Similarly, at pickup, we direct all traffic back to Fort Hale Road, indicating with a variable message sign that it's school dismissal. The best route to 9195 is up that way. To the right on Burr Street. And next slide shows the path that we would add that have directed the traffic coming out of the airport to follow during dismissal time and pick and drop off. Be to come out of the new exit, go to the right on Burr Street to Fort Hale Road, and then up Townsend Avenue to whichever destination to the north people are looking to get to. We would maintain existing traffic patterns on Townsend Avenue during drop-off and dismissal. No airport traffic will be directed from the new exit to pass Nathan Hale School during the drop-off and pickup times. Talk a little bit about construction as well, give you an update on that. We're looking at 3 construction phases. We're able to maintain traffic through two-way traffic through the area during the entirety of it. The first phase, which actually has most of the work, and a lot of it is actually connecting the sidewalk network in the area. You can see here working alongside the west side of Burr Street to install the sidewalk and add a little bit of pavement here for the roundabout. The second phase is to build the roundabout island itself while having the traffic starting to move around the island. And then finally, the third phase is to build the bump outs for the geometry next to the airport. So a little bit about the delivery schedule. It's weather dependent. As we said in November, we wanted to start in spring of 25 at the latest. We'd like to start in the next couple of weeks and be able to deliver this in about a 1 to 2 month construction schedule. Any issues, obviously feel free to reach out on that. Happy to, we'll take questions here as well and comments in a couple minutes. But I really want to say thank you to everyone that reached out. Traffic around the airport is a very difficult challenge, and it's one that people feel very passionately about. And I certainly empathize a lot with the challenges of all that traffic. I actually live myself off of Townsend Avenue, just slightly to the north of here. And so this is my neighborhood too, and I feel that keenly. Again, I want to reiterate, happy to meet with any of the school parents, the administrators, the staff, to look at more ways to improve the pickup and drop off situation around Nathan Hale School. And really, I hope you emphasize our commitment to make sure that none of this traffic will go by that school during the pickup and drop off times. So with that, are there any questions?
Well, what I'll do, Giovanni, real quick is, just wanted to reiterate and underline the piece here about the Nathan Hale School and the flight schedule. So, as the roundabout and the internal striping at the airport relates to traffic and air schedule, so this is really to increase and better manage arrivals traffic. And there are no arrivals before 8 o'clock in the morning, and in the afternoon, of course. We have the directional sign that Giovanni had mentioned. And so again, when you look at the sort of total airport traffic picture, how this traffic calming plan works is really to affect and improve and kind of separating from that total flow arrivals traffic only. So just pause quickly and open to some of the committee members if there are any questions, comments, and then we'll move into public comment. Rose?
Yeah, one of the things I would like to point out, we talk about flights and the times that they are anticipated based on the schedules, but we all know that there are delays due to weather and everything. And how is that going to affect the afternoon if flights are scheduled off? That's my first point I'd like to talk about. And also Fort Hale. I know it was brought up in the past about making it a one-way to help the residents there have less traffic. So even with the roundabout, redirecting traffic either Townsend or Woodward, Fort Hale is still going to be a two-way street, correct? Which means there's still going to be a lot of traffic going up and down Fort Hale, especially people who are used to using the airport. And those people are especially suffering. And having been on that street with some of them, I can see they can't get out of their driveways. So how is that going to be alleviated for them?
So I think a couple of thoughts on that, right? I mean, first of all, there's just a volume challenge, right? And wherever you put it, there's challenges around it, and I think that everyone's aware of that. By making the traffic pattern within the airport more efficient and eliminating some of the pinch points, that will reduce the sort of the most painful experience for Fort Hale Road, which is traffic backing up from the airport kind of at a standstill up Fort Hale Road. Right. So by making it more efficient for vehicles to move within the airport, you lower the frequency with which backups happen into the neighborhood. So that's kind of the first piece. The second piece is that there is some reduction of the overall volume on Fort Hale Road. It's a 30% reduction, which is significant, although not huge. And I think that will also be a benefit as well.
The other thing, Tom, this is for you, and I don't know if you would be the person to know the answer, but if you recall a while ago, there was that bus, the red bus, and I don't remember the name that was on the bus. They were parked on Fort Hale, which really made a real mess of Fort Hale in that intersection. And then the next time I saw it on Burr Street. What about these buses now that are coming, and where are they going to park so that they don't impede one lane of traffic? Because obviously that's a liability for people who have to go around a bus and they don't even have good sight to see what's coming on the other side. So what's happening with these buses that I'm now beginning to see?
Sure, and well, and we'll address that, and just to underline the point that Giovanni made. One part of this too is increasing the capacity here with the internal changes that we're going to be making to the airport traffic flow to better absorb more cars here internally, but also just to keep that traffic moving during peak periods, and especially in the event of delays, which is what causes that congestion that kind of jacks up Fort Hale. And so part of that is just to kind of keep things moving along smoothly. And then when it comes to buses, it's certainly, another piece here is, when you have larger vehicles in these congested environments, it certainly makes the problem worse. And so again, just kind of keeping that traffic moving and better absorbing the incoming traffic will certainly help with that. And I know that Andrew there has a comment.
Yeah, and to the comment on the buses, if those are buses, and I think I know what you're talking about, the buses that are picking up groups of people, the way the airports are supposed to work, and the reason, Uber and Lyft, or well, not Uber right now, the reason Uber isn't there is because they've refused to, work with the airport. So the same thing with the buses is it's our job to work with those buses who are dropping people off and to make sure that we're reaching out to those companies as that spins up and more bus companies start to show up at the airport. So what we'll do is, and what we have done in the past is when new taxi companies or bus companies start to show up, limousine companies, we reach out to them and then organize with those companies to make sure that they're cooperating with the airport circulation and not parking themselves on Fort Hale or in places that make no sense for the rest of traffic.
It's real dangerous. Have you reached out to this particular bus? Because it's the same bus that I saw twice. And I'm sure it's been there other days, but I've only seen it twice.
I have no idea. That's something that Michael Jones usually does, or Jeremy. If you have any more information on it,
next time I see the bus, I'll
Yeah.
get the name of the bus, because honestly, I don't have to tell you, a bus blocking one whole lane of traffic is dangerous for everybody concerned, including the
That's
people
right.
on the bus. So
Right.
thank you. And then
Absolutely.
the last thing is the NHPD. I've seen them there a few times when it's heavy as far as flights. And I know this is a busy season coming up with spring break and holidays. What are they doing? I see the car there, but I don't really see them doing anything. So what's the point?
Yeah, so one of the other comments I was going to make is that we've certainly stepped up law enforcement presence in and around the airport. And so, one of the deployments is there at the front entrance to help us with traffic management. And throughout the day, depending on any of the situations, those officers are moving to different locations. They could be working on something inside the airport, moving on out, but regularly working on external traffic management and monitoring around the airport.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, Justin?
Thanks. I just as a resident in Morris Cove, and it's a very pedestrian-friendly neighborhood. I noticed the roundabout. I only saw one crosswalk. It actually looks like there's a couple of areas when the roundabout goes in that it'll be kind of a dead end, like on Dean Street, for example. I'm just wondering if you could speak to that a little bit. It looks like it'll be a lot harder to cross near the airport once that goes in.
So actually, I think we tried to make crossings better because there's no sidewalk in part of that. And so there's one now official crosswalk there that's marked. There's no crosswalk that's marked there now.
That is true. There are no
Pull up.
crosswalks at the moment.
Let me
so,
pull it up right now, and then that way we can talk
Yeah.
about it from.
Yeah, I'm just Dean Street specifically. I mean, there's actually not
I don't believe there are any
sidewalks on
Dean
Dean,
Yeah.
but people do cross from Dean to Burr, and that looks like
For
that would
sure.
be more difficult.
I mean, I think the challenge you have now, right? So this is what we're planning. We're adding all of the sidewalk in the, to the off the page here to the left, down and to the left, and then through here, and then connecting back up to the sidewalk network that is, on the east side of Burr Street. On Dean Street right now, right, if you were trying to cross from Dean to the opposite side of Burr, there's no traffic control there. There's no stop sign on Burr. We certainly heard a lot of reports of people speeding through the neighborhood on this stretch. It's straight, it's long. There's not a lot of, on the east side, there's just the airports. There aren't a lot of driveways or roads or anything like that. So this will slow people down, the roundabout as they come and approach the intersection. I think it'll slow down a lot of the traffic. You do have the benefit of an added crosswalk now. Dean Street doesn't have any sidewalks, although I will note that this area is where the Shoreline Greenway Trail will go through and provide a 12-foot mixed-use path on the east side of Dean Street.
Great.
And provide a lot of pedestrian benefits there as well. So I think Dean Street will kind of get all of that in together, and that design, the Shoreline Greenway Trail, I think will work well with how this intersection is set up. But we are providing that sidewalk connection down Burr Street. This was like a 2-block hole in the sidewalk network on Burr Street.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. Just real quick, that new crosswalk that'll go in, and I know I'm representing a small contingent of residents on basically the west side of the airport.
Yep.
But how would you, I mean, if you're a pedestrian going to the airport, which like I said, is not a lot, but I've done it a number of times, how would you get from that crosswalk to the terminal? Or are you still going to have to go, because I know they've blocked off those stairs.
Yeah, I know the sidewalk goes to those stairs, and you said they're blocked off. I would defer to my colleagues at the airport on more details of that. It's I mean, I assume you would be able to walk all the way to the entrance as well, but I don't know if Tom.
Yeah, so you would just follow that sidewalk to the front entrance, and then there's a crosswalk starting at La A, and then you would just follow that down through to the front of departures rather.
Okay. Yeah, it's a bit of a roundabout way for residents in that area, but I understand it's most people drive to the airport, so I get it. Thank you.
I have another question, Tom.
Yep.
For also Giovanni. When the terminals and everything move to the East Haven side of the airport, will the traffic still be coming out of Burrendine, or will that eventually change?
I mean, we obviously haven't seen any final plans for any of this, but there would, the terminals on the east side, the terminal traffic would all be on that side. I don't believe there's any way to drive from the east side to the west side internally on the airport without crossing the airfield, which is not something the public would do. I wouldn't see any traffic, terminal traffic.
So those parking lots will be gone. They won't be there on our side, the Morse Cove side.
I would refer you back to all of the discussion around the original lease and all that. I don't know if anyone else wants to chime in on that. That's a little outside of my area of complete expertise. I mean, I think the bulk of the traffic clearly would be, if not all of it, would be on the East Haven side. But again, that's not my area of expertise.
Yeah, I'll defer to Andrew if he has any additional comment. But ultimately, the relocation of the terminal from this west side to the east side is also going to be the relocation of all the arrivals and departures traffic, and of course, all the things that we're talking about here today is part of the broader goal of managing the growth that we're experiencing here in the west terminal. while moving forward on all the plans, just to relocate all the center of activity away from this area. And
Thank you.
if there were no further questions or comments from committee members,
I'm good. Thank you.
what I'll do is I'll open us up to public comment, and so would kindly ask everyone to keep questions, comments to 1.5 minutes. We'll do our best here to keep this interactive, and certainly invite Giovanni, myself, and others on the call to respond to any questions. We want this to be a meaningful and productive conversation, and so all the questions here today would kindly ask stay focused and explicitly about the subject here we're here to discuss, which is the traffic calming project. If you have questions related to anything else, I've dropped my information, cell phone number and email into the chat. So certainly welcome you to reach out outside of this meeting. But for now, would ask again, just everybody to focus here on the subject at hand. And if you do have a question, comment, or concern, invite you to raise your hand. And what I'll do is invite you up to speak. And we can do that now. Okay. We have Lisa Bassani. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you
we
clearly.
got you, Lisa.
Okay, thanks. So a couple things I just want to start with quickly. This meeting should be in person. It's really insulting to the community to put this on Zoom. There's absolutely no reason that this should not be in person. That's A. B, a 90-second comment period is really, really short. And I just used probably 15 seconds to say that. So I'm going to move on. My main point is this. Tweed has created this traffic situation by dramatically expanding the number of flights without the infrastructure in place. Giovanni, you know this better than anybody. We don't have the road infrastructure. The terminal is completely ill-equipped to handle that amount of traffic. I actually met a parent at Nathan Hale the other day and collecting signatures who works there. And even the staff is like, we can't do all these flights with what we have. So that's A. And my final point in my last 30 seconds I have is this. You talk about we're going to direct traffic away from the school during these hours. We're not going to have arrivals. This community has heard lots of promises over the last 5-6 years, and none of them have been kept. None of them. You told us, oh, at first 10 p.m. we're going to commit to no flights later than 10 p.m. Last Saturday night, and I'm not kidding, your arrival board showed on Flight Radar 24 showed 3 flights coming in at 10:59 p.m. 3. So now initially it was 10 p.m. Now you're saying 11 p.m. and now you're scheduling flights that late. So I would just say you don't keep promises. So when you tell us these things like you're going to direct traffic away from the school during these hours, you're not going to have arrivals. Well, this community has seen this movie before. So I would just say we know how chaotic Townsend Ave is during drop off and pickup. Giovanni, come join us. We'll sit out there and you can watch. So we know, and to Rose's point, if there's delays or this and that, we just know there's going to be cars. And finally, I don't see how you're going to direct traffic away from Nathan Hale when cars are just going to be following GPS wherever it's taking them. You have a traffic cop, to your point, Tom. The 2 or 3 times I've seen that person recently, you know what they're doing? They're on their phone. So I don't know if you're going to station somebody over there and you're going to have an electronic board or whatever you said. But I just personally, knowing drivers, they're just coming out. They're going to follow whatever their nav says to go. And that's going to probably be, by the drawing I saw, it's going to be up Lay Street right in front of the school. So that flashing light can say whatever it wants. And drivers are going to drive the way their nav is telling them. So those are my main points. But we have 250 something signatures we collected in a few days. This community does not support this proposal, not at all. We've had no engagement, and you're basically saying you're going to start this project in a couple of weeks when this community in force is saying, no, this is not what we want. This is not what we want. And I commiserate with the folks on Fort Hill Road. I 100% do. But you guys have created that situation by completely oversubscribing this airport when you just simply don't have the infrastructure. So those are my main points. I know there's a lot of people that want to speak, but you owe more to this community. We have taken it on the chin for this airport over and over again. Everything you give, there's accommodation after accommodation for this airport, and it all comes at our expense. So, Rose, if you're on the committee, you need to help us we need another meeting in person. That's the short of it. Rose, you live in this community, you're on this committee. This should be in person, full stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah, I mean, you make an excellent point. When we started this, this was about moving the traffic and the terminal to the east side, right? I mean, I think that's ultimately here. What we're doing now is something that gets us from today to that day. But ultimately, that is the way to deal with the traffic that you see through the New Haven side to roads that are larger, et cetera. But yeah, I appreciate you being here, Lisa, and thank you. And I certainly look forward to joining you out there in front of Nathan Hill, and let's find answers for pickup and drop off. It's certainly here that there's problems today there, right? It's a challenge today, and we did keep our promise to put the state's first raised crosswalk there in front of the school, and let's keep working together to make it even better.
Yeah, and I would just
to
add a little bit of context there too for, I understand the conversation around oversubscribing the airport. There are a couple of challenges that federal airports face, and none of the answers make anybody feel good about it, but they are realities that we have to manage around. And that's at a federal airport such as Tweed or any other airport that has commercial service in the US. There are very, very strong regulations that disallow the airport from turning away air service or routes. So once an airline decides to fly somewhere, the only real regulation is that they can fit in the terminal, and outside of that, we're prohibited from to what would make sense, I think, for the community to keep it from becoming, as you described it, oversubscribed in the morning, especially. So I think that's one major challenge that all federal airports face, and this airport is clearly right in the middle of the neighborhood, and that's something that we're working on, I think. And then to your other point about the sign and whether people will, follow the sign. The airport is only required to have one police officer on site by federal regulation, but because we recognize the value of the community and we recognize that we need to always think about how to play better in the community, we have brought on more officers. It's an iterative process. We didn't start out with this many flights, but this is where we are now. And we'll continue to iterate the process. So if the sign isn't working, then we'll find another way. If we have to put somebody out there during those times to make sure that, and we do that often now during the iterative process. And we actually played with this during the last couple of peak weekends, is putting people out there and putting police officers over there. So if the sign isn't working, then we'll iterate around that. And that's what this entire process is about. Is we made a promise last year that we would look at traffic flow and relieving some of the congestion on Fort Hale, because those folks deserve to be able to get out of their driveway. And that's what we're doing here today, an iteration on traffic from the initial planning stage, and we'll continue to iterate to make sure that we can be responsive to the customer neighborhood behavior. But I appreciate everything that you brought up, and look forward to hearing more from you.
Thanks, Andrew. And just to add to, and point well taken, Lisa, on the comment period here. And so while we had put in a minute and a half, in having provided you 3 minutes, if there's no other reservations from the committee members, I would recommend we just move forward with a 3-minute comment period for the remainder of public comment.
I'd like to hear people speak, and I think 90 seconds is kind of short, and it is better to let people have their say.
Agreed.
Agreed.
All right, so let's move forward. And again, now a 3-minute public comment period. What I will do is at the 30 seconds to 3 minutes, I will let you know. And then at the 3-minute mark, I will also let you know, so we can keep the conversation moving. So we have a Carly Hall. Hi, Carly. Carly, are you
You're
there?
still muted.
Thank you. I wanted to, if I understand correctly, the adjustments to your planning relate specifically to drop off and pickup times and whatever other small, in my mind, adjustments you're making to the general plan to have the traffic go by Nathan Hale School where there are all these vulnerable children. May I just point out that while I'm not an engineer, it seems to me that what you're working on is a very static situation. So it seems to assume that drop off and pick up are the only times in which the children are at risk or the school is at risk. I'm going to say that in my experience of having a grandchild in Nathan Hale School, the school operates on a schedule that is not just pick up and drop off. It is the center for meetings. It has after school activities. It has parents coming in to discuss their kids at other times than drop off and pick up. And the point that the prior speaker made about people following the signs is maybe appropriate for 1955, but it sure isn't appropriate for 25, because people don't obey the signs anywhere and will do whatever they want to at whatever speed. Finally, in the end, those raised portions of the road outside of Nathan Hale are an indication that the volume on that road was considered to be dangerous and there was an attempt to slow it down. That's an indication that you're picking the wrong place to add to the volume. I ask you not to make Nathan Hale School the victim of your attempts to enlarge an airport, which is in the wrong place anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Carly.
Thank you.
Gloria.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Gloria.
Hi, Gloria.
I want to thank the previous speakers, Carly, who hit the nail right on the head there with the raised pedestrian zone being put in, knowing that it's a bad place to begin with. I'd like to ask who did the traffic studies for this project, when the traffic studies were done, and by whom. I'm using my 3 minutes, so hold on, I have to find my place here because I actually wrote notes this time. On Lot C, you don't show it on your map very well. And that Lot C will be exiting the traffic circle along with the arrivals. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, today Lot C had 717 cars parked there. I counted them myself. Sorry, Tom, I couldn't wait for your numbers. That's not including the rental cars that are in front of Lot C. And I don't know how many cars were in the arrivals today, but with your traffic pattern inside the airport changing, sounds like there's going to be more cars being able to fit in the arrivals, which totally changes the numbers going up Burr Street. So you have Lot C, the arrivals, the change of the airport to add more cars to make it easier for the people to get into the airport, while going through the traffic circle, upper, past Townsend, past Nathan Hale School, the senior center, the church. Not cool. And as far as the signs go, let's face it, no one follows them. Just like Carly just said, it's ridiculous. They don't stop for the stop signs. They don't slow down for the slow signs. They don't stop for the crossing guard who's holding the stop sign in the raised pedestrian zone that's out there for safety. If you expect people to follow a sign, I don't care if you put it on neon lights, you can hang it upside down, you can put 20 of those. Nobody's going to follow it. Don't go up Burr Street during these hours. That's ridiculous to even think that that would work. Google Maps. Didn't you guys adjust? I think I heard in another meeting, you made it so the traffic people will be brought up through the traffic circle up Burr
30
Street.
seconds.
Yeah, I'm hitting home. The proposed plan of a traffic circle threatens to escalate the already existing traffic issues by Nathan Hale School, circumventing the traffic of Burr Street to Townsend and disregarding the risks and dangers for our most vulnerable people, children, parents, Nathan Hale, the seniors at the senior center. It's not good. This whole traffic circle idea is a bad idea. You guys know it. You have to, I don't know how the original plan going down Fort Hale, going up Hall Street. Giovanni only counts the houses on Burr Street, not the houses on Townsend Avenue, because their houses on Townsend Avenue are on the state road. That's not fair. We're all residents here. And I guess my time's up. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, Gloria. So I was trying to understand the question around the Google Maps. I don't think I quite caught that one.
I think I heard at a previous meeting that the Google Maps, I don't know, did you guys, I don't know, program Google Maps so it would take the cars from the airport through the correct roads, because people had said maybe they're going to take lefts and go down Dean Street, and somebody had mentioned at one of the meetings of adjusting Google Maps navigation.
Okay, yeah, sorry. So just to address that one really quick, we do not have any programming authority with Google Maps. It does it, based on traffic congestion. So in the morning when there is traffic congestion, it'd be interesting to see, if you were to plot, and maybe we could do this another time, but just if you were to plot from that exit where Google Maps would take you because of the congestion in front of the school. But that's how Google Maps is programmed. We don't have any, as much we've tried it, we've talked to people, we just don't have any position or way to program Google Maps and direction it takes people.
Okay, and I just wanted to thank the environmental committee for clearing their agenda, because there was the air filters, the noise mitigation, and something else, and everything you guys haven't done. You've not done it. I don't believe you anymore. Thanks for clearing the invisible things.
Is someone going to answer her questions about studies?
About the traffic studies. So
Thank you.
Again, as I talked about this earlier in the presentation, it really came out of last June's annual Tweed meeting, more concerns about Fort Hale Road. So we had two major sources of data that we looked at for this. One is the airport traffic counts of exiting vehicles from the airport. We looked at a period in late August. We also updated numbers to late February, last 3 weeks of February, including the President's Day holiday, which is a big peak travel time for the airport. We also, the Connecticut Department of Transportation takes traffic counts on a couple of locations on Townsend Avenue. So those are publicly available. If you Google CTDOT traffic counts, it'll pull you up to a map where you can access all of that data as well. Just to give you the quick highlights, in the last 3 weeks of February, between 7 a.m. and 5 p.m., we averaged 140 exiting cars per hour. We would expect an average of, given the sort of the split on that for the exiting, about 79 or 80 of those cars would go use the new exit. The Lot C traffic was pretty consistently between 10 and 15% of the total exiting traffic of the airport, which sort of lines up with what we see nationally from these sorts of facilities, where a lot of just the pickup and drop off traffic is what drives probably about 85% of the traffic to an airport. And then the longer term parking is the other 15% or so. So all of that traffic together, you look at Townsend Avenue and some of the vehicles for there. They have a traffic count station just north of Burr Street, so between Burr Street and Nathan Hale School. The afternoon peak in March of 2024, which was the last time they took traffic counts, was 590 vehicles per hour, with the number of vehicles passing by the school per day between 6,100 and 6,600 in the 2 days that they took the traffic volumes. That actually is if you go on their website, you can actually see traffic volumes going back to 2006 for this station. So 2006 was 7,400 cars. 2009 was 6,300. 2015 was 6,400. 2018 was 7,200, which is the peak. January of 2021, which was in the pandemic, dropped to 5,200. And then March of 24 rebounded up to 6,100. So giving you a sense of the traffic that is on Townsend Avenue, and then some of the the traffic volumes coming out of the airport, and what we would expect to see as an average split in the hour. So the average traffic in the airport, coming out of the airport at this time of the new exit, roughly a little over 10% of the peak traffic, at rush hour, for example, on Townsend Avenue.
Thanks, Giovanni, and thanks, Gloria, for the questions. I'll invite up Laura McHugh. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, it's not Laura, it's her wife, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
We live across from Burr Street, and I must say I have to make a correction. The police officers that you put on the entrance do not do a damn thing. They sit in their car or they're down on the bottom talking. No one is directing traffic, and this only started with you guys last week. This has not been an ongoing thing. That I have to make clear. And another thing is, if you put a turnstile over there, it's going to make more of a clutter on Burr Street because nobody's going to know where to go. I'm going to tell you that right now. We have so many cluster, and I'm not going to say the second word, on this Burr Street every single night. No one is letting people through the stop signs. Nobody wants anybody to get into the Tweed before them. It's a nightmare here, a nightmare. Horns are blowing at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was sleeping at 2 o'clock in the morning. There was a line of traffic. A plane came in and the horns are blowing at 2 a.m. I'd like to sleep, I have a job. This is getting ridiculous. You people make all these promises and nothing is done. Nothing. All you do is things behind our backs. We have video of everything. And if you want to see it, you could see it. Because we're constantly out there with our cameras. I'm just getting tired of the promises you people make and nothing is getting done. And everything is like, you send it to the mayor and he wants to know nothing either.
Frustration.
It is frustrating.
Tell them they double park here.
They're double parking. They're parking on both sides of the street. I can't even get into my driveway. I had an argument with a guy because he wouldn't move his damn car so I could get out of my driveway. This is getting ridiculous here on Burr Street. And something really needs to be done. And you guys are not doing it because nobody cares. Nobody cares about the residents around here. Nobody. I'm done.
Thanks, Laura. Just a point on that. I mean, again, part of this is a recognition that there is no perfect fix for this.
Right. So the
but as
fix
we
they're
look
trying to make
towards,
is going to make more of a clutter. And what happens when you have a funeral at St. Bernadette's Church? What are you going to do then? What are you going to do then? With people not caring, they're just going to pull out into that funeral procession.
And then you get 4th of July traffic going to the lighthouse.
It's a nightmare here, a nightmare. And you people created it. You people. You can't blame anybody else. And you don't want to really fix it. You're just trying to band-aid it. And there's no getting around. There's no band-aiding it. I'm really frustrated because you don't live here. You don't have to sit in this house with the fumes all day. You don't have to sit with the people in the parking and nobody caring. They just give you the finger and walk away. I even had mace put in my face because a guy was pulling up and he wasn't supposed to park somewhere. I had mace put in my face. Enough is enough.
Thanks, Laura. Now we have Joe and Marcia.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. Hi, how you doing? One question I have is all this is dealing with the airport traffic leaving the airport. I think your problem, or one of the problems, is getting into the airport. You still only have one way in and one roadway to your departing or your arrivals. With the way people are coming in for departures, that one road that snakes around where you let your people off, people are stopping to let their people off, but they're blocking that entire road, which is your problem you have right now. Where if you were to, and believe me, totally hypothetical, if you use parking lot A as your departures and have people go right in there to let people off and cross over that line, that at one point cross over that road, that becomes open again, that road. Because people park there, they say their goodbyes, they let everybody off, and that's what causes your backup. Now, if you still you put this other gate in, you're still going to have backup going up Fort Hale because you have four planes coming in or 4 planes leaving in an hour. That's over 200 cars coming in. You don't have that amount of capacity on that one road coming in to drop people off. I mean, I just a concern that you're still going to have backup of Fort Hale and on Burr Street, people coming in for drop off. And if you leave that one lane open to just people crossing, because people crossing this road takes 6, 8, 10 seconds, but someone dropping someone off, they're there for a good minute, 2 minutes, by unloading and saying goodbye to everybody. And that's where I think the biggest traffic jam is, and that's why you have a problem. I mean, it's not going to leave the traffic on Fort Hale by letting people come out that road, but. And well, one other question I had: who pays for the rotary that's going to be built?
The airport is paying for the road out of the community betterment funds.
Okay, but that's just, I mean, my comment about what might be able to be tried
Yeah.
before you go putting the rotary in, and I don't know. That's just my observations on it.
So go ahead, Giovanni.
Go ahead, Andrew. No, go ahead.
No, you designed it, but just
I think you make very good points, right? That is the pinch point that we talked about earlier. It's a challenge, and obviously it'd be great if people unloaded a little bit faster, right? But the big change in this one is that all of the arrivals traffic doesn't have to go back through departures, which is what you have currently out there. So while, yes, you do have a backup just from straight arrivals back up that access road, you also have all the people from departures backing up that access road. All the people from arrivals as well are trying to get out. So if you have both arrivals and departures being active at the same time, you've got all of that traffic trying to get through the very area where people are trying to say goodbye and unload their bags, et cetera. So, I think this is the first pass at that. I really defer to the airport on other ways to make departures move more smoothly through the traffic that moves through there. But, cutting out half of the traffic that has to get back out through there, I think will be the first cut at improving that situation.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to put my 2 cents in.
Thanks.
Appreciate it, Joe. And I'll just add too, kind of simultaneously here, is the increase in staffing here on the airport side, to add even more hands and personnel there at the upfront experience for passengers to continue to keep that traffic moving and organized, so that we can just keep that overall flow going.
There's also an opportunity too, if you pull up that map, right, where we or the on airport diagram, lane pattern. So another opportunity that we've thought about is when you have a bunch of departures coming in, because they don't have to come back and go around the way they used to, we can actually use that lot or that traffic pattern you see to the right there to push departures, cars coming in to drop folks off. We can push them down into there as well, to allow drop-offs and then let them exit the airport that way if, when things get really hairy there. So it really gives us a lot of opportunity to unload Fort Hale, just by rearranging the way we're doing this traffic right now to the point that Giovanni made. We're going to have less people who are trying to come back out over there, so that decreases the options, or sorry, the space that is taken up by those folks, but then also the ability to just push them right into where the arrivals terminal is to allow them out there as well, because it's a short walking distance from there. So I think this creates a lot of opportunities for us to be able to to unload Fort Hale.
Thanks, Andrew. And we'll call up Karen Laskowski. Oh, hit the wrong one there. Hi, Carolyn.
Hey, Carolyn.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we've got you.
All right. So a lot's running through my mind right now, hearing the comments. Obviously, I live on Fort Hill Road. We live it all the time, as do the residents, the most impacted residents, I would say, Burr Street, etc. And Rose made a comment early on about, what exactly is the police officer doing? I live one house away from the four-way stop sign at Hyde Street and Fort Hale. Just this afternoon, at the afternoon buildup, I just stood at my window and watched people fly through that four-way intersection. That would be a great thing for the cop to come up once in a while and check that out. Maybe help enforce that there is a four-way stop there, because it's people really don't pay a lot of attention to the traffic signs and what the directions are. There was another time last week when it was particularly backed up, and people were dropping off their passengers in front of my house to walk down the street with their luggage. So I know the plan that's been presented is, hopefully going to reduce traffic on Fort Hale by 30%. I think that has a big asterisk after it, because there's a lot of unknowns in your business, and you guys know this better than I do, but all it takes is a couple of bad weather days in a row, and all of a sudden your normal planned traffic becomes doubled, quadrupled, or whatever. I I think I said this, Tom, to you when we had a conversation about it in December. I'll believe it when I see it. But right now, I think the bigger issue is there's way too much going on down there at that airport than you guys can handle.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Thank you, Carolyn. Yeah, I mean, I think your point about people not following the traffic safety laws, right? I mean, this is something I talk about in just about every single public meeting I get to do all across the city. We just have a culture where obeying traffic laws and speeding and doing dangerous things with very heavy vehicles is something that some people choose to do it. And as much as I'd love to say, that in my experience across the city, it's always been people from outside whatever neighborhood we're in that are doing that. It is often also the people that live in that neighborhood, my neighborhood included, that have that. So it's an opportunity for all of us to constantly reflect on what the choices we make while we're driving. I'm sure all of you are very good drivers, but the choices we make behind the wheel are very important, can really affect the lives of the people around us. And it's a sad commentary, quite frankly, on our society, how much time and effort we have to spend across the city, whether it's here or Quinnipiac Avenue or Valley Street, or I can name a lot of different projects for traffic calming. When driving with a little more caution, a little more concern for the people around us would make a huge difference.
And then I would say too, on the, it's a point well taken about placing a police officer there during particular times. And I think we can certainly take advantage of that opportunity to relieve some of the congestion and the way people are driving. Also, you have Tom's number here, so Tom, don't kick me under the table, but you have Tom's number. If there's a day where things are just getting out of control, text Tom and let him know, or give him a ring and let him know, and he will, advocate for getting somebody up there sooner rather than later to help with the way traffic is behaving that day. So that's what I have to offer on that. So, but I appreciate the point there, and we'll make an effort to have an officer there, particularly during those challenging times.
Thanks, Andrew. And thanks, Carolyn. I'll invite in Debbie or Cheryl. Who do we have, Debbie or Cheryl?
Well, I'm Debbie.
Hi,
Cheryl,
Debbie.
over in the background. A couple things that I wanted to, one thing, yes, the traffic. That was one thing I was to say. If you bring up all the stuff to Burr, to Townsend, we live on Townsend. We live just a few houses from Burr and Townsend. That is already incredibly busy, regardless of what your traffic things find. There's a bigger problem here on Townsend that I think you're also aware of. Besides the school and the funerals, you have all of the condos, etc., that East Haven built down on Shell Beach in that area. That this traffic on this street is a lot more than it was when we first bought here over 25 years ago. So Townsend's already very, very busy. You're now going to have cars coming up to Burr, and it is busier than you think, I think, and trying to get onto Townsend. Well, we use Burr to try and get to our house from, let's say you go to the store, and you already have had to deal with the traffic at the airport. So you come up Burr to get to where we live. It's difficult to get onto Townsend from Burr now. So if you're going to increase that traffic to have them leaving from the airport, expecting them to go and get onto Townsend, I cannot see anything but a really big backup and problem increased. And as I say, there are days when it's really hard just to get out of our driveway. I've asked if they could put something at the curve that goes down to the seawall because we have so many accidents there. Partly because, as Giovanni said, yeah, and someone else, we have drivers that could care less. They pass you on the double line around the curve. They're doing that towards the school as well. So now if you have all this traffic coming up here and you expect them to sit and wait their turn to get on, I don't think it's going to happen that smoothly. So you're going to have to do something at that corner of Burr and Townsend as well. And I also will agree in terms of the police. Yeah, I drove by the other day and it looked like an empty car because I don't know where the policeman was. Later, a little bit later, he sat up. He must have had his car, his seat was reclined and he was lying down. I don't know. That's not really helpful just to have a car sitting there with police lights on it. They need to have active police, not just passively lying in their car, so that when people are driving badly, they have something happen. And the same, I think, is going to have to happen up here at Burr and Townsend and somewhere near the school, because this traffic has gotten so bad that, yes, I understand you're trying to get it so it'll move faster past the airport, and that's great.
30 seconds.
but it has to also continue smoothly beyond that. And I don't want to see everything turning into a spaghetti bowl, not to mention we get in and out. So,
Yeah, I appreciate that. The issue at Townsend and Burr that exists already has come up a few times. Giovanni, I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that and how we
Yeah,
might
I mean, I
monitor
think
that.
I think you raise a lot of really wonderful points, right? Townsend Avenue is a very high volume street. We talked about the 6,100 cars a day that we see right at just north of Burr Street. You go further up, actually, right near, sort of up by where my street is. That jumps to 8,400 cars a day, right? So, and as you get closer to Main Street, that number probably increases even more from there. And we've seen a lot of issues along Townsend Avenue on safety. There was the tragic death of a young man, so a couple of years ago, over by the seawall, and we've had a lot of our share of tragedies, and we've all seen crashes along Townsend Avenue. It's a larger question about state roads in our city. We had the first raised crosswalk on a state road, not any road, a state road, in Connecticut in front of Nathan Hale School. But that is, some of you have talked to us about, well, it could be a little taller or it's not quite as aggressive as some that you see elsewhere in the city. That was literally the highest one we could possibly build, for the state and still have them feel comfortable about it. But the good news is that we are continuing to work with the state on this. I know your representative, Alpilil, as well, works with DOT a lot on this. The Shoreline Greenway project is looking at another raised crossing in the area of the Fort Hill Park Road. And Concord there on Townsend, looking also further towards the seawall and even at the other end for access towards Lighthouse Road. So I think it's an ongoing discussion. The volume that you see on the state road is very high, and your point about traffic generators in other towns down the shoreline. And the purpose of the state network is to move all this traffic around. But there needs to be an understanding that these are roads that people live on, and they go right through our neighborhoods. As far as the intersection itself, I think a lot of the dominant move is the right-hand turn as opposed to the left-hand turn at Burr and Townsend, and that's an easier and safer turn, although I certainly understand and respect that can be challenging as well at some times. I think the general strategy here is to reduce some of the intensity and some of the real hot spots, and that will help traffic flow a little better and have a little more slack in the system to avoid some of those really high intensity issues like we heard from the woman on Burr Street and on Fort Hale, and spread some of that load around.
Is there a way, I mean, just because this has come up a few times, that intersection is already kind of difficult. Is there a way, considering that the airport will have some impact on that intersection, for us to monitor that or study it after we, make the adjustment with the traffic circle to make sure that the impact isn't a safety impact, rather just additional cars?
Yeah, I mean, I think throughout this, we're going to look closely at it, as you said, adjust the operations, look at this intersection, look at the operation of the roundabout, make sure that we have people following the best direct ways to go direct back to the highways. I think all of that is very important. You can't just build something and walk away from it, but you have to see how to best operationalize around it as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Thanks. And thanks, Debbie and Cheryl. Leah Rumor. Hi, Leah.
Hi, Leah.
Hello?
Yes, we've got
Hi.
you.
Yeah, so one question I have, sorry. Go outside. There is a way to get access to control like what GPS tells you. I'm a safety manager at a construction company, and I've been able to do that where you can change the main route, because the people that are paying attention to their phones a lot and just using that to like navigate is just like the Uber drivers and Lyft, and all they're doing is looking at their phone to get to the closest there or the fastest. So I would recommend that you guys research that more, because and you can use the feature to close a road in there. So like if you have to, like on the VMS board, if you need to change the direction of traffic, you could probably do that. I don't know if it's Google that can do it or what, but I would definitely seek that out. Now the other concern I have is when you go, so I live on Hall Street, so when I go grocery shopping when I go to Brantford, I go down Hall and then I try to take a left, and the cars there's a lot of and it happens all the time, they're parked on the side of the road. And I don't know if they're Uber drivers, but I don't think they should be allowed to park there, or maybe like change the parking to block some of it so people can see it to go left. It's just been difficult to see around the cars. So that's a suggestion I have there.
Sorry, just to clarify, where was that spot exactly?
Sorry, yeah, the intersection of Hall and Burr.
Okay.
So if you're trying to take a left, you got a lot of cars parked on the side, so you're trying to look around to turn left. But then you got cars parked on the right on the side of Burr as well. So it's like you can't see very well. So I don't know if you can move or remove some of the side parking a little bit longer, so you can, or put like bollards up or something.
Right. Okay.
Those are just simple. You could just screw those right into the asphalt. And then I don't know if there's a way. So there's a lot of
30 seconds.
So the Uber drivers, I don't know if there's a way to get them to not, because that's who's mostly parking there.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a way that they can wait. Like, can the airport have a designated location for them is another question. And then lastly, when is the east side entrance construction supposed to start? Because I keep hearing that it's going to, and then there's plans, but I don't see anything, hear anything about that.
Yeah. So the just on that point, we're getting very nearly ready to submit our deep application for the construction on the other side of the airport. So, and we should be able to work through that in under a year and then begin construction. And then on the Uber stuff, that was also a little bit tricky. In that Uber, up until now, and perhaps the conversation could change again, and we can go back and try to have another conversation with them. But Uber has not played ball at all. Lyft has been fabulous. They have really worked with their drivers, and Inmate and some of these other limousine companies have all been really fabulous. Uber is playing as hard a ball as anybody could possibly play around the airport, and refusing to cooperate in any way. So that one is tough. There's not a great solution for that right now, though. I think now might be a good time to go back and have another conversation with them, with the volume that we're seeing at the airport, and see if there's an opportunity to find better cooperation from them.
Okay. Just one. Can I ask one more thing?
Sure.
The police. So is it the New Haven police that are doing the flagging, or supposed to be controlling the traffic?
Right. Yes.
So I would suggest using, because a lot of times they use that time as overtime, and the police are very exhausted. And I love the police. I'm not trying to downplay. I've been on construction sites where they do the same thing. You have to have somebody out there because you're paying. That's money you're paying.
Right.
You have to tell them to wake up or whatever and do stuff. So I would probably start looking at flagging companies, because they actually have people standing outside, that's their job. Here it's doing overtime, and then they're probably exhausted, and then just sitting there. So that's just my thought.
Yeah, it's a good point too. I mean, we have talked about very recently, we've talked about bringing in specifically a flagging company or a traffic company to help manage just in front of the airport. I think some of the challenges, sometimes people coming into the airports are not as um, docile as they should be. Uh,
Yeah.
and so we have felt more comfortable having police officers out there as opposed to private
Or maybe it's a
companies.
fix or something.
Right.
Because like I know the lights help, but that's mostly what's the effect there is the lights.
Right.
But the actual like flagger with the sign can help too.
Yeah, it's a really good point, and I appreciate it. And I think that's something that we're definitely going to look into. I appreciate you raising that. And if you would just send Tom a text too, so that we have your contact information, we can reach out if we need more ideas. That'd be
Yeah, if
perfect.
you can pass along the info on the navigation software companies and how to get in touch with them, that would be helpful as well, just for.
Sure. Okay.
Thanks, Leah.
Thank you.
Giovanni, on that last bit of the block there, I mean, is there something that we can do there to help increase the safety there where cars are parking at Burr and Hall Street?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we could look at it. I get myself in a lot of trouble when I design on the fly, but it's something happy to talk to the people who live there and have the lived experience of what's going on there and see what we can do. For sure.
Okay, perfect.
Thanks. All right, we'll call up Lynn. Hi, Lynn.
Hi, thank you. See
Lynn.
here. Okay. Yeah. So I had just a couple things. So the idea of restricting departures during the window of time that you want to protect Nathan Hale School, I think is a problem because people have to come 2 hours early to get dropped off for their flight. And so there isn't any way to really control traffic at that window of time. If people are going to continue to arrive, and that's the problem. People will arrive even though the departure is going to be in the future. And they will get stuck because there's too much congestion at the arrival point. So what you're talking about is routing it to the new exit, which is going to be problematic because you don't want people going by Nathan Hale School during that time, and that's the whole purpose. So that exit has to be blocked, which means that all the arrivals are going to have to go back up Fort Hale. So that's just one thing that struck me. And then the other thing I wanted to ask you is whether you've resolved the petitions against the Fonzie finding. So the town of East Haven petitioned to have an impact statement, and so did Save the Sound. Have those been resolved? And can you go ahead and start construction if those have not been resolved? And that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for the question. And I can answer that last question there is the petitions have not been resolved. They're still making their way through the legal system. But the way the system works around that is that we can continue to pursue the permits and construction while those are under review, which is essentially what's happening. It's a bit different than sort of normal litigation. So there's not anything like a restraining order that prevents construction. It doesn't change the status of the finding of no significant impact. It simply says that, there are people who challenge whether or not that was the right call. So we can continue, and actually we're obligated under the lease agreement, both lease agreements really, to continue to pursue everything at risk, meaning we could get all the way down the road and all the work that we've put into it. Somebody could come along and say, we could, and we don't think this will happen. It's an extremely low chance, and that the FAA has a very good record on these Fonzies. But we continue down the design and build path at risk to us, and if something happens later on down the road, then that is on us and our loss to whatever extent we might have to we would have to redo something. So that continues down the legal path. But yes, we continue with the permitting and design build process.
As far as the traffic, Lynn, I don't think we're doing anything that would restrict people to coming to the airport for their departures. Certainly, I mean, that'd be very challenging to do, and quite frankly, problematic. You're absolutely right about that. Nor is the not having any traffic go by Nathan Hale School during pickup and drop off dependent on anything like that. Really, what we're doing during those periods of time would just direct everyone coming out of the new exit to take a right, and continue back to Fort Hale Road, essentially going back to status quo for those periods of time. While the new traffic pattern would benefit other periods of time when we don't have kids outside of the school, walking on the street, getting picked up, and a lot of traffic around the school itself.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, Lynn.
All right, we'll invite up Leland Moore. Hi, Leland.
Hi.
Hello.
So I share folks' concerns about safety and congestion on Townsend and Nathan Hale. I also share concerns about effective enforcement of the new route. I'm wondering, before you make a permanent change, have you guys considered conducting a pilot program, studying how the altered traffic flow works, and presenting those results to the community? I guess I'm a little just concerned about the permanence of the project and whether the studies that you've done before have accounted for new routes. So that's my first question. And then my second question is, why reroute back down Fort Hale during pickup and drop-off times instead of another street? Because these folks, I think someone else pointed out that these folks are suffering the most from airport traffic. Is there a way to lessen the load on them a little bit further? So those are my two questions.
Thank you. Your first question about sort of the permanence of this. I mean, I think that from day one we've been clear that we expect this traffic pattern to be temporary for the airport. Right, the airport is going to the east side. That's the plan. Since it was announced 2-3 years ago, I forget at this point when it was announced exactly. But so this having the airport traffic coming through this roundabout is a temporary thing. More permanent is the geometric improvement of the intersection, the sidewalk improvement, the traffic calming effect of having cutting up this straightaway on Burr Street, and I think those are pretty well established as permanent goods for the neighborhood. Well after the airport traffic has gone away. In terms of I apologize. I think I lost my train of thought there on your second point. Other streets. Yeah, I mean, we certainly don't want to put this on Lay Street, which is the first street that it would direct directly into, in Girard, that would direct right back to the school. Fort Hale is where we've seen, the traffic has been thus far. I think in the morning, we really don't expect any traffic whatsoever because there's no arrivals at that time. And any traffic coming out of arrivals would be, a couple cars an hour or something like that. In the afternoon, that's not really the peak times. Peak times are a little later in the afternoon. So I think that will help as well. It's something we'll just kind of have to live with here temporarily until, the permanent traffic pattern on the east side establishes itself.
Thanks, Giovanni. And Leon, did that address the question?
No, I asked about have you considered conducting a pilot program? That was my first question of the new route, like opening up the gate, and taking data on that and seeing what happens before ripping up that intersection and making a roundabout. That was more my first question.
So we do open the gate at that corner of Dean and Burr during congested periods, and it is a huge relief, not just for the incoming traffic there at the entrance point, but also to help reduce that backup that is experienced going up to Fort Hale.
So there has been some pilot use of this traffic pattern. Does that answer your question?
And was there data collected from that pilot use?
I believe the airport observed the lessening of queues, going up Fort Hale Road and in the airport, and relieve the congestion there. I think that's the key metric that we would be looking at. I did not observe it directly myself, so I'll defer to my airport colleagues, on any more information you might have.
Sure.
Yeah,
So
no,
just
that's
go
right.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, just going to agree, and again, and this is also something that is requested by some of the law enforcement that we have on site as well when the congestion gets backed up, just to alleviate just all around, keep that traffic moving, and improve the traffic flows, because improving the traffic flows in the airport is what improves the traffic flows on surrounding streets, and avoids the congestion and backups that are currently experienced up Fort Hale. And part of this again too is making sure that we're constantly moving forward to address these concerns. While we have these plans in place, rather than waiting longer as air traffic picks up. We want to make sure that we have these plans in place to continue to meet and facilitate that traffic pattern.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Sarah Amato. Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Sarah?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
perfectly.
we got you.
Hi. Good evening to the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to comment tonight. My name is Sarah Amato. I'm a New Haven resident, parent of 4 children attending Nathan Hale School, and the PTO president for the last 4 years. I am here tonight to express my strong opposition in regards to the proposed traffic plan. It will affect the students at our school, which would send many additional cars passing in front of Nathan Hale each day through an already congested and dangerous zone. Like many parents attending this neighborhood school with close to 600 students, I drive my 4 children to school each morning. While driving, children are riding bikes or scooters, or even children are walking alone to the school. We have more children considered walkers than children taking the bus. Therefore, we have a much higher traffic flow. At times, I have sat in traffic with approximately 50 cars backed up on Townsend Avenue going as far down as Hervey Street. 2 years ago, sitting in that traffic, I watched a frustrated school bus driver heading to Nathan Hale, filled with children on it, leave the lane and cross over the yellow line and drive the rest of the distance to the school in the oncoming traffic lane. On our Nathan Hale social media page, parents express concern all of the time. I quote, "Is anyone else struggling with pickup? I had a really hard time getting my daughter because cars were parked in all different directions." End quote. Or, quote, "I'm more concerned about the people who are not dropping kids off and speeding through the crosswalk. I almost got hit a couple of weeks ago." End quote. Families have been frustrated for years regarding the traffic, and that was pre-airport expansion. While the proposed plan may be well-intentioned, the unintentional consequences will have an adverse impact on the students and families at the school on a daily basis. It wouldn't matter if it was even 1% of the traffic leaving Tweed. Any additional cars is too many. Most drivers will not follow signage, especially in an already overwhelming airport parking lot. Roundabouts are confusing, especially when you're unfamiliar with the area, and cars will end up on Townsend Avenue going across Nathan Hale. Lyft drivers will, out of habit, make a left-hand turn towards Burr, also because they are not using it only during those 2 hours when arrivals and dismissals to school are, but will be using it all other hours of the day. There doesn't seem to be a way to guarantee 100% that cars don't end up passing Nathan Hale at the start or end of the school day. I strongly encourage you to rethink this plan and find an alternate solution, and we hope to have a seat at the table this time around. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. And, obviously we know how much you do as the PTO president for the school. I just want to, happy to meet you out there with, the principal, with, the representative, anyone else interested in looking at more ways we can do to improve the pickup and drop off situation that, as you very correctly pointed out, is challenging today. The more that we can do to improve that, the better. Completely, setting aside anything about the airport or anything else, safety around schools is incredibly important. I'm happy to reach out and try to set up a time where we can go out there and look at other ways as well to improve even more pickup and drop off in Nathan Hale.
Thank you, Giovanni. I think the parents would appreciate a time where we could meet together to discuss this further.
Thank you, Sarah. And just to add to, again, I dropped that contact information in the chat, and from the airport side as well. Happy to connect further and continue the conversation.
Thank you.
Okay, Tanya. Hi, Tanya. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
we can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I'm in the middle of making dinner, so these meetings I've stopped attending them, but I really somebody gave me the link, and so here it is. So I live at 271 Townsend Avenue. We've been living here since the 50s, and I just want to say my piece. So Lisa, 100% agree with everything she said. Laura, I hear her frustration and I feel it too. Like right now, I'm trying to make dinner, but I'm trying to participate so that I can have my voice heard. Not that it matters to the city of New Haven, because I've attended so many of these meetings. My parents attended these meetings and it never leads to anything good. So I'm sorry for being negative, but that's how I feel. The weekends are the worst for the airport traffic. Add to that church, masses, funerals, weddings, ambulances that are constantly going up and down Townsend because there's an elderly facility at the end in East Haven. Anthony's, we won't talk about the traffic they create because it backs up all the way up Townsend. Then Lighthouse Park, don't forget about that traffic. Then next, passengers are not vested in this neighborhood. They don't care who they disrupt. They just don't, because their focus is getting to the airport and getting away from the airport. The other day, I was behind somebody, I think it's called Charter Oak. They were going towards the airport and they were speeding. And there's part of it that it's a one-way street and there's a lot of children on that street. And I was just curious, that car ended up pulling into the airport. Obviously, they were late for something. So, my blood pressure just keeps going up with the city of New Haven. Carolyn agreed with everything she said. And then, you talk about the traffic making it better, but the city of New Haven is a freaking disaster. Have you ever tried getting off at Trumbull Street? So I don't think you guys have a good track record for improving the traffic. You know how to make it worse. So hopefully I'll try to be positive, but I don't think it's going to get better. I don't like being compared to other neighborhoods in the city because nowhere else is there an airport in the middle of a freaking neighborhood. Okay? And then at Townsend Avenue and Burr Street, my son got into an accident. He had to avoid being T-boned because the car was coming so fast that he ended up blowing out 2 tires. So that is not a good intersection to be adding all this extra traffic. Okay, and now they're adding another 11 houses on the Townsend estate to add to that traffic that already exists. And let's not forget about the delivery trucks. So that's my piece. I know the city's going to do whatever the heck they want and whatever Yale wants, okay? I've said my piece. And I'm completely against this airport. Done. Under 3 minutes.
Thank you, Tanya.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Tanya.
Okay, Lisa Waring. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Perfectly.
Hey, Lisa.
Hi, everyone. Just wanted to say thank you. I'm sure it's not easy to stand up in front of a bunch of angry people who are demanding answers, and I'm sorry that I'm going to add my voice to the pile right now. But first thing I wanted to know, this is supposed to be a community engagement meeting, right? So why is the chat disabled?
The chat is, I can see chats coming through.
No, you have chat disabled and you have questions enabled.
I see. And are you able to look at and access the
I can
open
see my own, but I
questions?
can't see anybody else's.
Okay.
Yeah, so part of the challenge has been in the past, I can answer that. And part of the reason why we don't do the chat is part of the challenge in the past is that there have been other people who take over the chat and sort of chat bomb the chat and don't allow for actual communication to the panel. So we have taken the route, and it's been a bit more productive than a bunch of side conversations or somebody chat bombing. Allowing the Q&A so that the opportunity is still there, but just like
Okay,
an in-person meeting.
but we should be able to communicate with each other, right?
And you
that's
can, but not through the chat here. Just like in a normal meeting where you wouldn't be able to stand in the room and talk to each other. It's similar here, where there's an opportunity to ask the questions in a way that makes sense, but not be disruptive to the rest of the public meeting.
okay, but we can't see each other's questions either. And you have
Sure.
the ability to remove people
Sure,
from the
and
meeting,
we can
right?
improve that. We can improve that part.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. So the next thing that I just wanted to push back, because I mean, we know that the airport entered this voluntary agreement to limit flight times at night. So I want an explanation. I mean, despite the community giving you all this feedback about our quality of life concerns, like, why are you not able to request the airlines to lower the flights overall? Because we know that will actually solve the problem. Like, what's stopping you from entering another voluntary agreement to get the flight volumes back to a level that's actually sustainable?
Yeah, so go ahead.
Go ahead, Andrew. Just wanted to clarify the question. So you're asking about the hours of sort of operation, or
No,
or the
I'm
volume
asking
of.
for clarification about why there seems to be absolutely no push back on the airlines for scheduling so many flights, where clearly the traffic issues are a problem because of the high volume of flights. If there were less flights, we would not be experiencing nearly this much traffic. So I'm saying that it's obvious that there is a communication about the scheduling of the flights with the airlines. So how is this argument that there's no ability to push back valid? It doesn't seem to me that that's believable, that there's nothing that can be done about the high volume of flights.
Sure, and Andrew, if you want to just chat about scheduling.
Yeah. So the way, I mean, a couple of things. One, we do push back on the airlines. I know you get that the public doesn't generally get to see it. But there is quite a bit of pushback on airlines, and the most recent example, and it's somewhat highly publicized, is during the Christmas and New Year holiday that the airlines increased their schedule in the morning, but it was something that just did not work. I mean, it created with even the slightest delay, created so much chaos. But even without a delay, it just wasn't sustainable, and that's where you saw those huge lines down Fort Hale and even down Townsend. So we do push back.
So in other words, there is the ability to push back on the airlines about the flight volumes.
There is. We do push back on the airlines about things.
So do you think
but
that the volumes currently are sustainable and that it's good for the community to have this high volume?
Yeah, so those are I think that's something of two different questions. Is yes, the current volumes are technically sustainable. And I think I mentioned this earlier, is that there are federal regulations that prevent us from actually regulating those those flight times.
Okay, but does it stop you from pushing back on the volume? Regulating the flight times is different than saying we have an airport that's too small and can't sustain this volume.
Yeah, so we do push back when it is not a sustainable
So what you're
schedule.
saying then is that it's currently sustainable technically. So you believe that this is good for the community and it is sustainable?
So it is. There's a reason we have the overall project, and that's because it is not forever sustainable at these levels, or what we even the forecasts say that there will be even more air traffic that comes in. So
Okay, but the feedback from the community is very acute.
Sure,
It's
I
not
understand that.
sustainable even short term.
Well, I mean, and it comes back to two different kinds of sustainability. For the community, agreed, it is very difficult for the community who is acutely impacted by this. That said, from an airport perspective and from a ramp perspective, terminal perspective, it is a sustainable level of traffic. And so we have regulations around the way we can regulate those airlines. And as long as there's a space for uh, an aircraft on the ramp and there's space in the terminal, then we don't have the ability to tell airlines that they can't fly here. It breaks all kinds of federal
Okay,
regulations.
so if a Velo or a Breeze told you that they would like to schedule flights every 15 minutes, then you have no ability to say no?
No, well, that's different, right? Because, and that's sort of what happened over the Christmas break, is they wanted to schedule every 15 minutes, and we tried it, and it doesn't work. There's not enough room in the terminal. There's not enough security space. We don't have enough security lines for that. There's not enough room on the ramp. There were planes that were waiting out on the taxiway. So that
Right.
that that's a very real example that when they do exceed the terminal and ramp capacity, we have to push back on that. That becomes a genuine safety issue. But
Well,
outside
what
of
about
that,
everything else? There's also genuine concerns from the community.
right? But that's not something that the federal regulators allow us to regulate. That our hands.
Are
I
there a
hate to
list
use
of
the phrase, but
rules that you are following in terms of pushing back on those regulations? And could you share those with the public?
I'm not sure I follow the question.
Well, you say that scheduling flights where the terminal gets backed up is suddenly something that you can push back on, but all the other concerns that we've brought up so far have not been valid enough to push back.
Yeah, so they fall under grant assurances, and I think we have some of those on the website. I can certainly make more of those federal regulations available, and even write a small write up on it that have links to the regulations that we have to follow.
And just to follow up on that, and so that'll be something that Andrew and I will work on and make sure some of that information is available online and under our community resources page. And I'm sorry to interrupt, I just want to make sure that we can keep
No, no, thank
moving
you, Tom.
and come on to and move on to some of the next speakers we have on the list. But thank you, Lisa.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Lisa.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, and Kimberly DeMeo. Hi, Kimberly.
Hello. Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you so much for letting me speak. But I'm actually going to be probably piggybacking off of everyone. And it sounded like from this last question and comment, it sounds like our Tweed, Avello, and Breeze, it's almost like you're speaking as everyone is separate entities, as if Tweed doesn't have a position to, like with the last comment, as far as adding these extra flights, they're adding multiple routes, to various places. So are you saying that when they suggest that we want to add this additional route, are you saying that there's no way that Tweed can say, we have to limit some of this traffic as far as flights coming in and out, because if a flight goes out, it has to one has to come back in as well. So it's just adding multiple flights. And just watching, I came down and like the other lady that was speaking about Burr Street, I can't even see around the corner to turn onto Burr Street at times because of the people that are parked there. And there's 4 or 5 planes on the tarmac. I just feel like so are you saying that Tweed has no ability to say, we have reached maybe a semi capacity as far as flights? We have to be support. We have to kind of be mindful that we are in a community. I mean, is there no way to suggest that to them? It almost feels like the airlines are controlling the narrative all the way around.
Just quickly on a big picture level, when you look at the airport as a whole, I mean, we employ probably over 500 employees here on site at the airport, and that's a composition that goes along the spectrum from air traffic control to TSA to both of the airlines, as well as contractors that they work with that manage some of the operations on the ramp. Avports, which is the airport manager operator. Then you, of course, have Robinson Aviation on the other side, and even the employees here at the airport that work on our retail and concessions. So there's a lot of various parties that make up the composition of the airport here. And that entire environment is a heavily regulated, in restricted operating environment. And that includes the relationship between us as the airport manager and operator, and the airlines when it comes to both capacity here in the terminal. So how many people can come in and how many people can come out. And then the airfield capacity, which is how many planes can come in and how many planes can go out. And so all of that is a heavily regulated environment. And so we work with the airlines and all the various parties that are involved with it to make sure that we are operating within the capacity constraints that we have. But of course, each of those constraints are different. And so, as Andrew mentioned, there's a different capacity outside when it comes to parking, for example, or traffic, than there is the capacity on the airfield for aircraft, or in the terminal for people. And so there are a lot of various components that go into that. And so it is always a ongoing conversation within that regulated environment to make sure that the operations continue to run as they are.
And just for awareness too, just to add a little bit of color to this, is that during the EA process for the new terminal, there was a study that forecasted what traffic would be on the west side if we do not move the terminal. This is if we do nothing, what will the traffic look like? And just to give you an idea of what the FAA said traffic would look like, passenger traffic would look like, is that we are currently at 600,000, just over 600,000 passengers, almost 700,000 passengers a year, enplanement passengers. The EA said that if we don't move the terminal, that by 2032 we would be up to 1.2 million passengers a year. So that's the FAA's estimate on what happens if we do nothing. So there are, just to go back and point back to the idea that the federal regulations are just very different and not as mindful about the community concerns as I think what we would all appreciate, and give us a bit more power to push back on these things as an operator. But the way it sits right now, the FAA's regulations are to protect the airline and the airlines and the routes and the passengers who want to fly. So it's a very difficult place to be, but that's where we sit.
You know what? That's interesting, because that's the first time that I heard it. It kind of makes more sense now. It makes more sense in not a good way.
Right.
It just makes sense that this conversation obviously needs to be explored definitely broader. That brings up a good point. I feel, if that's what the FAA, what is their position in our environment and things like that? It's really, it doesn't make sense. So, that just gives me some more homework to do. And I appreciate you letting me ask the question.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks so much, Kimberly. Okay, we'll call up Kathy Gonzalez. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, Kathy.
Hi, thank you. My name is Kathy Gonzalez. I'm a resident. I live on Florence Avenue, and I am a mother of children who attend Nathan Hale School. So I kind of want to start with Andrew King. You said that you recognize the value of the community, but I'm just going to say that your actions say otherwise, because it was almost by accident that Nathan Hale families were made aware of all of this traffic situation just days ago. So I perceive that as Tweed and the city of New Haven trying to sneak this project in to avoid this exact situation. We have well over 200 signatures of Nathan Hale families and community members who are against the project. And I don't know how many people are on this meeting now, but we're facing a clear equity issue. We have community members without the resources or digital literacy and knowledge to attend a Zoom meeting. This needed to happen in person. And to respond to Giovanni, you said that you're happy to spend time during drop-off and pickup at Nathan Hale. So does that mean that you have not made yourself present to see firsthand what drop-off and pickup looks like at school? Because to the faces that I'm able to see on the screen right now, I know that we, the people speaking, we are numbers. We are pieces of quantitative data. But to the people who have signed in, these are our children. This is Brady. This is Sophia. This is Julian. This is my T-ball team who I bring to practice at Nathan Hale on the weekends. We cross Townsend Avenue. These are groups of children who walk to and from Nathan Hale for play practice outside of pickup and drop-off times. And they walk to Nathan Hale for after-school tutoring. In the evenings, there are open gym. The people attending these meetings are parents and families who are at Nathan Hale events during all hours of the day and the evening, not just the windows around 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. In October, we had a neighbor who was walking on Townsend Avenue who was hit by a car. That car evaded and the story was kept quiet. This woman is lucky to be alive. And Giovanni, you stated that about 79 or 80 cars would be using this exit, but Andrew King, you are touching on this and other people are bringing it up. Federal law does not allow an airport to deny flight service. So there really is no 79, 80 car cap guaranteed. So one of my final questions is, who is going to be ultimately held accountable if another serious incident or tragedy occurs, like what happened on Townsend Avenue in October? Because let's just say somehow we avoid
20 seconds.
passing cars in front of Nathan Hale. Andrew, you seem really alarmed about the dangerous intersection of Burr and Townsend, but it seems like we are going to wait until after we start sending hundreds of cars through that intersection to study it. Something is seriously wrong here. Shame on all of you if after tonight you choose to ignore all of these voices. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy. I certainly appreciate you asking about my experience. I certainly have been at Nathan Hale at both of those times and driven through there a lot. I walk my kids on Townsend Avenue and ride our bikes on Townsend Avenue all the time. I was down in East Shore Park last night. My kids had baseball practice. It's a road that I'm intimately familiar with, spend a lot of time with my kids on Townsend Avenue, and certainly understand the challenges it has. I actually live on a section of Townsend, right off of a section of Townsend that has even more traffic than the section you're talking about. I think we want to keep looking at it. Again, we did the first raised crossing in the state of Connecticut on a state road in front of there. Spent a lot of time at that location looking at it, making sure that was the correct answer, working with the state to make sure. So yeah, we're familiar with what's going on there. Want to keep working on it. Happy to do so. Happy to meet you or whoever out there to look at more ways to make pickup and drop off better. It's, as you said, there are challenges with it today. Let's work on those challenges and keep working on those challenges. I certainly appreciate the passion towards keeping kids safe, very important. Certainly want to continue to work with everyone on that, and it affects all of us.
Thanks so much, Giovanni, and thanks, Kathy, for your question. Call up Paul Campion. Hi, Paul. Hi, Paul, you there?
Hey. Yeah, I'm here. You got
Great.
me?
Perfect.
Okay.
Hi, Paul.
Yeah, thanks for letting me speak. I hope you can hear some of the things I have to say. So let's first talk about the problem and the length of time this problem will exist. You have a 43-year lease that you're into the third year. The terminal might get built within those 40 years, but I don't expect, even if you started with permitting today, that you'd have a terminal built for at least 4 years. Functional terminal. And you can argue that point with me, but this is not a short period of time. Another question I have for you is, why not internal to the airport itself? Are you not finding more space? Such as, why don't you remove the rental car space and turn it into people are waiting for pickup? Why don't you find an internal problem, a solution to the problem? This airport has done nothing but put an environmental mess and safety issues right in front of us day after day. If I lived on Fort Hale Road and went to bed at night, if there was a fire in that street and this airport had the congestion on that street that it has, who would be responsible for the fact that the city was derelict in protecting the neighborhood from the event of a catastrophe? Mm-hmm. This is a problem that needs to be solved. When we talk about people's behaviors, this roadblock traffic jam that you've created is causing those behaviors. It's called crowd control. And to put a turnstile, down at the end of Burr and Dean is the solution to nothing. It is what it is, a circle. You can take out what I'm trying to tell you. It's not the solution. Why are you not finding a solution within the airport property? When you talk about dealing with the Uber drivers, well, they can't get into the airport because you won't allow them because you don't have a contract, regardless of whose fault it is. But once you did have a contract and they all got in there, what would you do then? They'd move from where they are now to inside the airport, and you can't handle it. So there gets to a problem to the point that says if you went to the FAA, sorry, and said, yeah, we want to add more flights, but we can't handle the traffic, I think they'd probably tell you, then you probably shouldn't add the flights. Because the impact that you're having with this thing is you're just kicking the can down the road with the solution that the problem is within the airport. Tell me what airport you've ever been to that when you approach it, you go into the arrival and departure through the same gate. Which one is it? Do you know? What do you do at Bradley? So why don't you may as well build a flyover. I mean, so the point is, why are you not looking internal to the airport property to find this solution? Can you answer that question?
Well, thanks, Paul. No, it's a good question, and I think it starts off with, without any question, we are a small airport, and there is a limitation to what we can and can't do on airport property based on size and capacity. And so part of that is looking at the immediate solutions to some of these problems when it comes to the roundabout. And you mentioned a point earlier about congestion, and the goal and objective of this traffic calming plan is to keep that traffic moving and avoid those congestion periods and backups. And then longer term as well, looking at additional offsite capacity for parking, increasing shuttle service, which reduces the total number of cars on the road. And there are a variety of programs and initiatives. And just again, as we constantly move through this process, of improving the overall experience, is certainly a part of that process and looking at what we can and can't do.
The airport's reputation is being tarnished by this problem. It's affecting people's opinions about flying out of there. It's affecting their opinions about Avello and Breeze. So, there's, and you see an article where the airlines are blaming Avports and Avports is blaming the airlines. And then the issue is getting dumped on the city residents. And the issue here that when you go in and say, well, this is a community benefit and the airport is paying for it, tell me what the community benefit is. This is all about the airport for a problem that's being caused and how it's being utilized. You got a shoebox. There's only so much that fits in it. So then the solution should be you need to find some off-site place where cars can be parked and shuttled in to reduce it. There's no attention to be drawn to that. I mean, what else can you do other than put a circle? And when this circle doesn't work, what are you going to do the next time? Yeah. And when we talk about moving the terminal, let's get honest. You don't have final designs. You don't have permits. You don't have an agreement with East Haven. And if you started tomorrow, who knows if they'd even give you the money you need to build it. But let's just put a timeline and said it all worked. Who could sit at this table and tell me that 4 to 5 years, everything would be up and running? And, you talk about, well, you can do 1 million and 2 people coming in and out of there. Well, the way that sounds to me is that the airlines are just going to cut all the flights so that they can accommodate all those people with no regard for what the external impacts are. And that's what this is about. And Giovanni, shame on this thing. The city of New Haven has turned its back on this thing from day one. At the first meeting, I asked the mayor, when they were talking about 14 flights.
Thanks, Paul. We're over time.
What was he going to do to adjust for the traffic load? And they turned their back on us. And a traffic circle is the same thing, and you know it too. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul. I will note that a big part of this as well is changing the internal patterns and actually getting more space in the arrival area for more queuing for arrivals, so that more cars can be in on airport property waiting for arrivals, and helping some of the traffic load that way. So certainly, while a lot of the attention's been on the roundabout, which is one feature of this, a pretty sweeping change of the internal traffic patterns is also a big part of this.
And just to add on top of that too, Paul, we are actively looking at additional offsite capacity for parking, and so that is something we're constantly looking at. Again, recognizing that the greater capacity we have, the more we can offer shuttle services. The less cars we can have on the road, and the better we can have an experience, not just for the passengers, but importantly here, the surrounding community. So appreciate the question. Okay, let's see here. Call Trina. Hi, Trina.
Hi, how are you, Tom? Can you get me?
I'm doing all right. Yourself?
Yes.
Yep, we can hear you perfect.
Thank you. Okay, very good. A few things, my opinion on a lot of them. The moving the traffic through the other gate, people still turn right onto Burr Street and follow up as they had been. So that might not completely alleviate the problem with the traffic going down to Townsend. Secondly, this airport has long outgrown its capacity. You have a footprint there that it's no longer feasible to maintain the type of traffic that is being forced on us. Not just the automobile traffic, I'm talking about the airline traffic also. We have we're being exposed constantly to toxins, to noise, to all kinds of fumes. I wrote you recently that there was scheduled arrivals at 10:59 at night, 3 planes scheduled at the same exact time, one scheduled for 4 o'clock in the morning. How can we maintain this? How can we as a neighborhood maintain this and have any quality of life? This I do not understand, and it's getting very difficult. Now again, we're coming into spring and summer. We can't be outside. The fumes are heavy. The noise is horrendous. There's just no quality of life there anymore. You can't get down the streets. There's you got to be concerned about emergency access. People are we have strangers in our neighborhood. We have garbage on our streets that we previously didn't have. There's a lot of problems here. And to say that the FAA doesn't make mistakes on Fonzies, I do not believe that. I can go on, but I'm sure I've already gone through my allotted time. Thank you for your time.
Thanks so much, Trina.
Thank you, Trina.
I would like an answer about those scheduled flights, though.
Right, and so and Andrew, feel free to jump in, but part of that voluntary agreement, while it may look like on Flight Tracker or Flight Radar that flights are scheduled after the voluntary curfew, it's really just sort of a online nomenclature that these websites use. Either not scheduled flights, they are delayed flights, which are exempt from the voluntary agreement, which is of course put in place to reduce those overnight impacts. And again, as we work through all these other concerns and challenges, again, it's avoiding those types of situations, as best as possible, but recognizing that there are delays in events outside of our control, which will push on the uncommon occasion those flights outside of the curfew.
But it's regular basis, Tom. It's on a regular basis that we're dealing with this. There are a few nights during the course of a week where you can get through an entire night without hearing a plane come in. And then on top of that, you have people talking, yelling, screaming down there. You have traffic, you have horns beeping. There's no regard. These people think that they're on I-91. And that's not the case. We are still exposed to all this on a regular basis. I can't remember the last time I got a full night's sleep. This is not a good way for us to live. There's no consideration for the neighborhood whatsoever. And it just something needs to give. We've given as much as we can. Something needs to give on the other side. I can't sustain this any longer. I'm tired of hearing you bought near an airport. This was never, ever in my wildest dreams a possibility. I know I bought near an airport, but the point is the airport is not a good neighbor to us at all. The city doesn't care. None of the politicians care. There's definitely a different agenda than for the people that live there. And the people that live there should be allotted some quality of life.
Thanks, Trina. And I don't know, Andrew, looked like you had a comment, but I will want to keep us moving. We can continue to have those conversations. Trina, I'll do our best here just to keep our conversation focused on the roundabout. Just so we have a few more speakers that we want to move through, but appreciate the comment and certainly recognize those concerns.
Okay, just one quick thing before we go. When did this become a voluntary agreement, the noise thing? When did it become voluntary? Because it's my understanding that the city supersedes on the noise factor.
So aircraft noise are federally regulated. And so those agreements were put in place voluntarily with the airline, between the airline and the city of New Haven early on in that process. And so, just to flag too for yourself and for the group on our website at the top of flytweed.com, there's a button titled Noise. And so on that page, we've included a lot more information and content for you to access and to look at related to noise, how it's regulated, how the voluntary curfew works, and some additional information on our residential sound insulation program and some more data. And then, of course, you have my contact. Invite everybody to reach out on some of those subjects. Thanks, Trina. Becca? Hi, Becca.
Hi. How are you?
Doing all right. Yourself? Good evening.
I'm doing good. Thank you. Unfortunately, I don't have too many positive things to say. I purchased in this area when Sean was the person over at Tweed, and I did my homework on a regional airport as to what I could expect. And never in my wildest dreams, as another woman had said, would I have ever considered this to be happening. Personally, I had fond memories of Tweed. When we were young, there was a dirt road there, and we used to watch the planes come in. And, clearly none of that fondness is left. I do believe that the culture of the airport has changed the culture of this area to something which is nobody could really sustain. I think it is unconscionable that you are going by a church, by a senior center, and a school to eliminate traffic in a residential neighborhood, which shouldn't even be here. The traffic shouldn't be here. And I don't see this as a very good solution to the traffic problem. I don't know what else to say about it other than I've been affected. I live on Alfred and Concord, and the fumes in the morning are disgusting. I can't open my windows. And the same thing in the evening. And I will just echo everything that everybody else has said in regards to that and to the impact of the neighborhood. And I can't tell you how disappointed I am in the city of New Haven, where I grew up and where my grandparents came here and had a business and owned property here on the shoreline. Just can't tell you how disgusted I am in the mayor's response, the mayor's push on this whole Tweed thing. And I really am curious as to did they make their quota to, to stay here? I was under the impression they had to make a certain quota in order for the agreement to be sustained.
I'm sorry. I just want to ask a follow up to that. What? I'm not aware of a quota, but I'm curious who they are, like whose quota.
I thought that Avilo had to come up with a specific amount of income in order for the deal to actually go through. I thought that was a part of the original agreement. And
No. Yeah, I'm sorry that I don't know. I've not heard that one before, but that's a new one for me, and I've been around the project since the beginning. So yeah,
well, I
it's
may be misinformed on that, and I do
yeah.
apologize for
No,
that.
it's okay. That's
But
why we're here.
I really would hope that you've been listening to all of the people, some of whom are speaking quite eloquently about this disaster that's happening, and really reconsider the route that you're taking with this roundabout. I don't know if you've ever seen the elderly people who do not follow a specific drop off or pickup schedule, not to minimize that issue at all, but they have a hard time. It's slow to get out of your car when you're elderly. They have food trucks that go there, or delivery trucks that drop off meals for Meals on Wheels. And I hear a lot about the school, and that's terrific that you want to work with them, but I don't hear a lot about the seniors in this community. Yes, we have a lot of families here, but we also have seniors here, many of whom utilize the services that are there and whose grandchildren go to that school. So I I'm sorry that my opinion is very negative, but it's gotten to the point where I don't know if I can sustain living here. And that's something that I didn't want to consider at this time in my life. I just need you to know that.
I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you, Becca, and certainly hear you. And again, you have my contact information now in the chat, and certainly invite you to reach out and to continue those conversations and share more about what we're doing outside of the traffic subject that we're here talking about today, and just to continue that conversation. But thank you for joining, and thank you for your comment. Okay, so just we have a few more speakers on the list that we'll work through, and then we will close up here at 7:30. We are 9 minutes from 7:30, and so we should be able to expire the list here. So I will invite up Elsie. Hi,
Hi,
Elsie.
good evening. Thank you for your time. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly. Good evening.
Thank you. So first, I just want to thank my fellow neighbors and the committee for taking time tonight, sharing their voices. I am a resident of Fort Hill Road. I agree very much with Trina that, I sleep with a white noise machine now. I cannot open my windows. I'm afraid to plant a vegetable garden and actually eat the vegetables from it because I am worried about jet fuel particles going into my garden soil. All very disappointing. I do agree that volume is one of the key issues here. The airport volume is not scaled to the existing infrastructure. It's scaled to the planned and optimistic infrastructure that we don't have in place yet. So that's my first point. My second point, I would ask that you please hear me out on this. I know it's probably controversial to bring it up. I want to say that I think respect should be a prerequisite for doing business in the city. And unfortunately, our neighborhood has been sacrificed and exploited by Avelo. The news that they are planning to engage in deportation.
Hi, Elsie. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I do want to just keep us focused on the traffic subject here.
I have a relevant question related to this.
Okay, go ahead.
They are not an ethical business. We see that by what's happening to our neighborhood. So I have two questions. One is, why are we not halting, freezing, and waiting on investing in the airport until we understand what Avelo's business relationship with the city and state will be? And my second question is, what is the city going to do to protect our neighborhood from additional future exploitation by this company that's clearly profit focused and not at all aligned with our values as a city? And you all know that that is true. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Elsie. I just want to comment on that. A couple of things is number one, the Avports, who is the investment and development company that has invested in the airport so far and will continue to invest in the airport, I think something almost $15 million in the last few years. That is a separate and apart from Avelo or Breeze or any other airline. They're an operator and developer. Something that, to note is that when Apple's first identified this market as the second most underserved market in the country, that was prior to the existence of either Breeze or Avelo. What we saw in those studies is 74% of people went to New York, 12% went to Bradley, and then some other places. So the investment isn't about Avelo. The project isn't about Avelo or Breeze or Delta or United or anybody else. It is about the market that exists and is underserved. And so they're not tied. There's not an airline that's tied to the project in any way. So that just to clarify that, so there's not really an opportunity there to look at the project and say, okay, well, there's an airline that's doing something that we don't agree with, so we're going to halt everything. Which brings up federal regulations again. I know you guys heard me talk about it already, but federally regulated stuff here, and there's just not an ability to halt anything. I mean, one of the challenges is, and I think that is, I hear a lot of the frustrations around the current plan for a traffic circle and the traffic. The challenge is the traffic is the traffic is the traffic. It's here that we have to do something with it. We have to be able to move it. We have to move it along and let people out. We have to find a way to manage that. And the city is similarly handcuffed here in that they also cannot shut down a federally regulated airport. The city has to do the best that they can do to help manage around an airport that exists with or without city intervention.
But
and so,
Andrew, I just want to interject because by Avelo's own admission in their statement regarding this DHS contract, they said they're not doing financially well at Tweed. So if they go away, why would there be a need for an airport here and infrastructure? Would you have another airline that's going to come in and take
absolutely 100%? So there, because of the way airlines work, I cannot tell you, but what I can tell you is that since Avelo has proven the market and Breeze is also now proving the market, airlines are paying attention to this market where it was always on people's radar. It came down to fleet mix with the introduction of the A220 and the way it can operate better even than the 737. The standard 737. What Avelo has is a short runway performance package that allows them to operate better on it. But with the introduction of the A220, those airplanes are capable of landing on even shorter runways, and that was always the challenge with this particular airport. So yeah, there are definitely airlines who have come to us, expressed interest, and if either of these airlines exit the market for whatever the reason is, there will be. It's just where there are passengers. Means there's money there and there's an opportunity to serve, and those airlines will 100% serve this market. There's no doubt. The study on this market was done prior to either of those airlines even being in existence.
Well, then that's a
thank
great
you,
segue to my
Elsie. I'm
other
sorry
question.
to interrupt, but
Can
we
you
just
answer
have
my
a few
second
minutes
question,
left,
please?
and I want to make sure that we can get to the remaining speakers who really want to make sure that we focus on the traffic issue at hand. But again, appreciate you joining, appreciate your comments, and now we'll move on to our next speaker. Yeah, go ahead, Carlos.
This is Carlos Izieri. I'm with the city's economic development department, so not on the technical side like Giovanni, and of course learn a lot from folks on the technical stuff as we're talking about. But really, I just really want to reiterate on the Avelo point. The resident. I'm sorry, and I didn't catch your name. I know you made a comment, but I'd love to catch up with you afterwards. But I just want to reiterate. I think you've heard from the city leaders, our mayor, other folks in city government that what Avelo is doing does not align with our values at all. We do, I think, you've seen the word used by city folks, that we do feel it is a betrayal to what to what we believe in here in New Haven. So and you probably saw the mayor's letter to the CEO of Avelo, pointedly asking him to reconsider this. And looking, and I think we're really still sort of figuring out what our options are here to to more viscerally voice our displeasure, and a lot of my friends and neighbors have signed the petition. And so I think I don't want there to be any misconception on that part of it, but to Andrew's point, there is, we right now with the way the FAA regulations are, we can't just tell Avelo to leave. So I think we're really, but I do think we really are happy to have that conversation with our residents on another at another level as it pertains to what Avelo is doing.
Thanks, Carlos, and thanks again, Elsie, for joining and participating, and do apologize having to interrupt. We have 1 minute left, which gives us time just for one more speaker. And so I'm going to call up John Krasuski. Hi, John, and thank you for your patience. And with your comment, we'll close out the public comment session.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Do you mind allowing me to share my screen, just so I can just show something? It's some maps.
If it's easier to just describe them. Just
okay,
in
no
the interest
problem.
of time, and
no problem. All right. Thank you, everyone, for meeting with us today. And Giovanni, I appreciate you taking the time to show us through the updated proposal. I appreciate the time for hearing our parents' concerns at Nathan Hale, and that they're being taken seriously. I also want to acknowledge the valuable contributions Tweed and Available has made to New Haven. I think that was kind of overlooked this entire time, from boosting tourism and supporting small businesses like mine. That economic impact is appreciated, and we feel it, we see it. But as someone who lives in the neighborhood and also has traveled with Avelo, I understand this traffic congestion needs to be addressed. However, my biggest concern is about the proposed rerouting of the traffic primarily through the school zone on Townsend. As you know, the area is already overloaded. I believe, I can't remember who told us numbers, but you said 6,100 vehicles a day. And adding more vehicles, especially from the airport, and hopefully I did my math right here, but I believe you guys stated we're at 600,000 passengers, flight passengers a year. Let's assume at best we take that number, put 4 passengers per car. That puts us down to 2,800 cars a week additional that would be going past this school zone. And I'm going to assume these numbers with Avelo and not Breeze yet. I don't know how long Breeze has been there. I think this increase will absolutely put higher risk to the students, families, and the crossing guards. With the unpredictability of the airport arrivals and departures, those traffic peaks may and probably will overlap and worsen the situation, especially when it happens during school hours. It's something we can't avoid. As you know, delays happen. It's going to happen during those times. So my questions are, why hasn't Stuyvesant, I think it's safe to say, Stuyvesant Avenue been considered as a primary exit route from the airport traffic? That would take the consumers leaving out of the parking lot, turning on the Burr, and going up Stuyvesant, completely just going right by, not even going by the school. I believe it's a two-way road. It should be able to handle it. What else am I saying here? Additionally, for incoming traffic, can we explore the possibility of using Main Street to Charter Oak to Burr as an alternative route to alleviate some of the Fort Hale traffic for incoming passengers? If these alternative routes haven't been considered, can you help me understand why? I understand we all want a solution, but I believe strongly it has to prioritize the safety and the well-being of the community, and especially the children. I didn't plan to talk about this, but this was something brought up. We've seen a lot of comments about the police officers and their roles in directing traffic. I just need to clarify, the police officers are not there to just direct traffic. Their presence there at the airport is more for safety and security of everyone, travelers, staff, visitors. They're responding to emergencies, security threats, investigating suspicious activity. Like, we cannot rely on a police officer, especially a single police officer, to handle all that role. So there was someone who came in earlier that talked about flaggers. I believe that if we need to address a traffic issue, a dedicated staff would need to be put in place for that role. Hopefully I tried to cram. Sorry, I spoke quickly. I try to get it all in there.
Thank you, John.
Thanks so much, John.
Very much appreciate it. I'll offer a few quick comments. So Stuyvesant is certainly something we did look at, creating an exit from the airport right at Stuyvesant. Two challenges. One is the grade. There's a difference in the height between the airport and the road, Burr Street at Stuyvesant. So there really isn't space to get the sort of the vertical element of that and create a ramp up to the road there. So that is one challenge. A second challenge is that that's right at the pinch point within the airport. So you wouldn't necessarily be alleviating any of the internal pinch point issues that is a big part of doing this, is reducing the backups that spill out of the airport onto that. Certainly your math is probably correct on the 2,800 cars. By sort of to give you a sense of perspective, it's 43,000 cars going by that school today, right? And in 2018, I think it was more like 49,000 or something like that. So there's a lot of traffic, and I think there's the larger question of why is the school on this road, right? And some of the choices, but that's a choice that we live with. And what we can do to make that as safe as possible for those, knowing that there are those 43,000 cars going by a week, is something I've offered repeatedly here. We've already done, a groundbreaking project that a lot of other communities, quite frankly, are now clamoring for the DOT to do as well. So you want to do that. As far as having traffic coming in from East Haven, different municipality, we don't have, they control their roads there and that. I certainly don't want to speak from my counterpart in East Haven or anything like that. So, I think ultimately moving the terminal to East Side and having East Side access to the terminal makes a lot of sense.
If I may chime in here. So it wasn't necessarily putting the exit at Stuyvesant. It would still exit out of Lot C, take a right immediately, like a forced right onto Burr, and then Burr up to Stuyvesant, and you don't have to worry about the grade. That's when people are coming down Townsend, down Fort Hale, they go directly, while exiting traffic is taking a right on the Burr going up Stuyvesant. They wouldn't collide, considering that most of the direct traffic is coming, let's call it south down Townsend, Fort Hale, and north up Burr, and west on Stuyvesant.
Yeah, and I think that's to what Andrew was talking about earlier, and what I talked about, having some of the flexibility to react to what we see happen. I mean, that's certainly something we would likely see happen while we're directing people to take a right on Burr Street, away from the school. It's a great suggestion. I think it's something to the point where we continue to monitor and look at it and find it. And appreciate the suggestion. We'll certainly look at how to integrate that into what we're doing here.
Is this something back to the earlier things we were talking about, like studies or tests? Is it something we can practice now before this whole reconstruction goes? Like where we open up lots?
Well, I think it's worth pointing out that the quote unquote reconstruction is there's nothing about the roundabout that forces people to go in any particular direction, right? It's a benefit to the traffic geometry, to the speeding on the roadway. Quite frankly, has a little less to do with the motion of the airport traffic, although it does provide a spot for the airport traffic to get into the roadway safely in that intersection. But yeah, I mean, we don't build infrastructure for the next 3 years, right? I mean, this is something that has 20 to 30 year or more lifespan. And I think that, long after the terminal traffic is gone from here, and that's really the goal here, is to improve the geometry and safety of that intersection. And I think that stands on its own 2 feet. And when you come out of that new airport exit, you can go down Dean Street. If you live in, someone mentioned Shell Beach in East Haven, or you live in Brantford along the water, you can go down Dean Street and come out on, on South End Road and Townsend Avenue down by the firehouse. If you want to go to Stuyvesant, that's a perfectly good option to go that way. I think a lot of people may choose to go that anyway. There's the option to go to Burr, and at certain times of day that may make sense. That is another thing, and that's where also having the flexibility of an electronic sign to be able to direct people, depending on the time and the conditions, and making sure that we stay away from pick up and drop off, for example. I think that's part of the flexibility in the design, right? The design is meant to first and foremost, get rid of some of these pinch points that back up into the neighborhood within the airport, provide a better exit condition in that intersection, provide traffic calming, et cetera, there, and then provide flexibility to understand what the best options, as you so correctly put it, going forward for which way we direct the traffic and at which times.
I'll just add to that.
Oh,
Sorry, if you don't mind. That intersection right now, as it is, it has to change. To manage that, when we have done some testing and to see different plays on how we can manage traffic, that intersection is just extremely problematic and requires more staff than is reasonable to manage a particular intersection, and then also puts all of those staff at risk. Because they're in that intersection trying to manage it. So, to your point, I think it's a really, the iteration of this will continue. Trying those other streets, I think, is an interesting way to try to play this as well, particularly during school hours. But that intersection, from our experience at the airport, that intersection absolutely has to change. If anybody is going to use that gate on that side of the airport for any reason at all.
So you're referring to Dean and Burr?
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. All right. I just think that a lot of the people here had a lot of opinions and things about the airport. The parents at Nathan Hale, that is our biggest concern. We understand you need to make a decision here. We just do not want it in front of the school. Whatever you guys can do to make that happen. We understand the airport's expanding. It's overwhelmed. The infrastructure's not there. Just if you can please not put it in front of the school, that would be the biggest takeaway. I think you can make all the parents happy. I know we can't make every resident happy. I live in the area. I'm right there. I understand. I just, if we walk away with anything from the meeting and everything that everyone said today, if the school is the biggest priority, the kids, the safety of them, that's what I want to get across.
Yeah, very much appreciated, John, and we certainly share that emphasis. And as you and others have pointed out, there are problems with pickup and drop off right now, and trying to address those and come up with even more solutions beyond the raised crosswalk. Certainly something that we will follow up on.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone, for the time today.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, John.
Have a good night.
Good night. All right, so we are at time. I just want to thank the City of New Haven, the Environmental Stewardship Committee members, and of course, members of the public for joining us this evening to review this important project. Again, my information is in the chat, and most of you, I'm sure, also have Giovanni's information. We are available, and so certainly encourage you to reach out with any additional questions, comments, or concerns. And without further questions or comments from the committee,
I'd like to make a motion to end the meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, so moved. And so I'll call this meeting to adjournment at 7:42 p.m. April 15th. I will note that the next ESC meeting is scheduled for June 17th next month. So again, or in 2 months rather. So again, thank you all for joining. Thank you for your time, attention, and hope you all have a great rest of your evening.
Good night. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, Giovanni.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.